Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. On today's show, Duane Towes visits with Robert White about a custom motorcycle used to promote new ethanol blends. Then enjoy this week's Kansas Soybean update. Up next, Duane will talk to Debbie Lyons Blythe about sustainability and what that means in the beef industry. Then it's this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update, and we'll end with Plain Talk. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Up first today, Duane Towes and Robert White talk about a custom motorcycle made to promote the use of ethanol blended fuels.
Duane Towes joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas. An opportunity to catch up with Robert White with the Renewable Fuels Association. And Robert, you've had an opportunity to take a pretty special vehicle across the country. Tell us a little about the promotion and the use of renewable fuels in the country.
Well, we've had a unique opportunity, as you said, to partner with Paul Tuttle Jr. of Paul Jr. Designs and American Chopper fame to build a custom motorcycle that runs on E85. And what we really used it for as a lure for consumers to try and get them to stop and talk. And we need to answer those questions, resolve those fears around ethanol that have been set forward for multiple decades from the oil industry. And in particular, in the motorcycle industry, there's a lot of concern even about 10% ethanol, which is approved by every motorcycle manufacturer on the planet, but yet there's still some residual concerns out there. So we built this motorcycle powered by E85 using 100-year-old carbureted technology to demonstrate that the fuel lines aren't going to fall apart, that there's actual performance benefits from using ethanol in motorcycles, and we've had a lot of fun doing that all across the country and even around the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally.
Was going to comment that I understand you did have a chance to take the bike and have it at Sturgis, and a beautiful piece of machinery that it is, and you expect that when you get to work with somebody like Paul.
Oh yeah, you have to have a lot of faith because you don't see the bike until they roll it out to be filmed for television. You basically give him some guidelines, and he didn't even listen to all of those. So ultimately we wanted it to be powered by E85. We wanted to use the older technology to demonstrate how flexible and how functional this fuel really is, but more so we wanted it to be rideable. We want this to be a bike that we can start up and go down the road, because that's, a show bike is a show bike. We wanted an actual rideable bike. I participated in several charity rides with it as well, and we look forward to, a good example at Sturgis, I rode with Sarah Palin, Tom Berenger, and Rusty Wallace in a charity ride, and it was fun watching Sarah Palin have to talk around ethanol.
Well, certainly it is a talking piece, but it really allows the industry. We think about its great connection with NASCAR and the high-performance engines that they have running on E15. It just helps gain some momentum. We have to get that traction and take it all the way to the consumer level that, hey, it's a fuel that's right for the times. It's right for the engines that we have.
Well, that's what's fun about this motorcycle. This is not a special motorcycle as far as the engine's concerned. It's an Ultimate engine, really built for Harley-Davidson. The only changes that were made to the motorcycle itself was the carburetor. So you could take this carburetor off, put a new one on, and run premium fuel without any other changes. All we did was increase the size of the jets in the carburetor and increase the timing. It's burning 10 degrees cooler. It has an extra 10 to 15 horsepower. I'm not sure what else you want as far as performance-wise on a motorcycle, but about 130 horsepower, 600-pound motorcycle. It's got all the pop you need.
It sounds like a tremendous opportunity and a fun one to ride at that. And it's great to have something like that, though, that grabs people's attention, because we continue to deal with misinformation from other parts of other industries.
Well, and it's all about market share. I mean, this the most profitable industry in the world is who we're trying to gain gallons from. So they're going to throw every piece of misinformation, every lawsuit, every political tool they have to try and slow down the expansion of higher blends of ethanol like E15 and E85. The good news is the facts are all on our side. The fuel is actually better than anything they're offering, And so once we get to the consumers and have an ability to have that conversation and use a motorcycle as an example to prove that point, get them to try it, they'll prove it themselves, and they can tell their friends and family about it.
All right, thanks to Robert White, Renewable Fuels Association, joining us here on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. We have much more coming up for you today on Farm Factor, including this week's Kansas Soybean Update, coming up next.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Charlene Patton, Consumer Media Specialist with the Kansas Soybean Commission, joins us. Charlene, the month of April is celebrated as National Soy Foods Month.
We're excited to bring a new soy foods guide to consumers across the state. It has 32 pages of 4-color information and recipes and all the latest health information to encourage consumers to add soy as part of a healthy diet. One of the pages here includes 8 reasons why soy is spectacular for your health. So if anyone's wanting to know those reasons why to include soy, it includes a wonderful guide to help consumers make those choices. We're trying to make it easy for consumers to include soy in their diet. They can go to kansassoybeans.org. We have an archive of many, many recipes, and they're all tailor-made to whether you're looking for a baking recipe or looking for a salad or soup recipe, to really make it easy for consumers. And of course, with the soybean industry right now, we have lots of choices in the grocery store. No longer is it just soy milk, but we have the soy nut butter, we have edamame, we have black beans and yellow soybeans that make it easy for consumers to add them into recipes that they're already making.
You talked about baking. Doing substituting on some of the normal things you may use has become very much something that people can do.
And with the soy flour, we encourage consumers to combine that, for the most part, with our good Kansas wheat flour, because soy flour does not include gluten, and we need gluten for most of our baking. We do have recipes on our website, and we also have an opportunity for consumers to blend it in their flour canister using a 7-to-1 ratio. And that way they use 7 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of soy flour, sift that together, and you can use that for any baking that you're doing and add that soy protein to your diet.
There are myths out there about how people look at soybeans or taking soybeans in some form or fashion. I know myth and fact are 2 different things.
And the Soy Foods Guide will really actually help with that. They can call our 800 number to get a copy of that, but it lists some of the target reasons to include soy in your diet and then gives some of the factual information behind that to help consumers make those choices.
That is Charlene Patton, Consumer Media Specialist with the Kansas Soybean Commission. She joins us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us after the break for more with Duane Towes and Debbie Lyons Blythe.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Jen Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call, we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now we learn about sustainability within the beef industry with Duane Towes and Debbie Lyons Blythe.
Duane Towes joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Debbie Lyons Blythe, a rancher, producer from in Kansas. And Debbie, you've stepped out a bit with the U.S. Sustainable Roundtable for Beef. Talk a little bit about the organization and what you and others are hopeful for.
You know, that's a great lead-in for me, because what are we hopeful for? So my goal actually is to make it proved that the U.S. beef supply is sustainable and getting better every year. And that truly is the goal of the U.S. Roundtable. So we had to first start about, in 2015, but we had to agree on a definition of what is sustainability. And so the trick, though, with that is that we have so many different people at the table. That's why it's called a round table. We have cattle ranchers. We have cattle rancher organizations. We then also have civic groups. We have non-governmental groups. We have feed yard owners and packers and processors, and then finally retailers. So we all had to sit down and agree on sustainability and what that definition is. That's the first thing. So the definition is very wordy, but I translate that and into cowboy terms for myself. It's take care of the land, take care of the animals, take care of the people, and make money. Because in order to be a viable business, you have to make money.
I think that's one of the key points that some people get hung up with, and typically in agriculture we get a bit offended or play defense sometimes when we think about sustainability or accountability, and I'm not sure why we have problems with that. The realities are that we do have a consumer out there that we need to be accountable to. We're already doing the majority of the right things. We just haven't told a very good story.
You know, that's very true. So, there's more than 100 businesses in America that have made a claim or a goal that within a certain number of years that they will only source sustainable products. So that conversation is happening whether we're a part of it or not. I think the bottom line for me is that if I am not there and involved, then I have no say in how we measure sustainability. And so one of the strengths for the roundtable is that we are measuring sustainability along the entire value chain. So not only are we using metrics, but measuring, let's say, water usage at a cow-calf level. We're also measuring it at a feed yard level, at a packer's level, at a processor's level, and even at a retailer's level. So we have questions that we ask of all of those different segments to make sure that they are using water sustainably. So some of our indicators that we have created questions, or what we call metrics for, would be land use, greenhouse gas emissions, employee safety, animal health and welfare, water use. So we've got some really key things that we feel like are good indicators for whether we're sustainable or not.
And ultimately, who can be against any of those things? The reality are, those are all good business practices. They're all the right thing to do. That's exactly right.
So cattle ranchers have always been about using technology, getting better, doing things better, using conservation measures. We're already doing so much of that. It is about telling the story, and it also is about communicating how it is that we can get better. So one of the key questions is, for a cattle rancher, do you have a grazing management plan? And if you have a grazing management plan, that probably impacts your land use, your water use, and your greenhouse gas emissions. So the questions are as simple as that for us to be able to show that we're sustainable and getting better every year.
Our thanks to Debbie Lyons Blythe with the U.S. Roundtable for Sustainable Beef joining us here on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses in rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery, and so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously. So I'm tickled to death with the results, and I'd recommend this process to anyone.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Farm Bureau update.
Dan and Amanda Atkinson operate a 6th-generation farm in Rooks County with Dan's parents, Bob and Kathy. They own a diversified cow herd and farm 3,000 acres of dryland crops with a wheat, sorghum, fallow rotation. Additionally, the Atkinson farm has been a nearly 100% no-till operation for more than 15 years. The couple are active in Rooks County Farm Bureau, helping Rooks County receive a National Award of Excellence for the Bushels of Backpacks program. On the state level, Dan has served a 3-year term on KFB's Beef Advisory Committee. Dan and Amanda are active in their community. Amanda is a board member of Phillips Rooks County Extension and is the dance coach for USD 271. Dan is currently the vice chairman of the National Sorghum Producers Board of Directors. Both stay active in local and state FFA alumni. With the current headwinds that producers face with international trade, public perception, and governmental regulation, the couple believes it is more important now than ever for Kansas Farm Bureau to be at the forefront of conversations while providing meaningful solutions for farmers and ranchers.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Time now to see what Kyle and Duane are up to today on this edition of Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Plain Talk with the man who's always wondered why we have round pizzas in square boxes, Duane Towes.
Cut in triangles.
Cut in triangles. Wow.
Look
That's
at
just
that.
all that's wrong, isn't it?
Why do we do that?
Why do we do that?
I don't know.
Well, because square boxes are easier to make than round boxes.
Why don't we just make the pizza square?
Well, they do. Some. So well, there's one for you.
More
would you
efficient
rather have
use
a
of
round
space.
pizza or would you rather have a square pizza?
I just like good, you know.
You don't care?
I don't care. I'm a taste guy. Although the pizzas that are rectangular in shape, I will admit, the outside are fine because they all have a piece of crust, but the row in the middle...
You like crust on your pizza?
Not to grab onto.
Oh.
I'm not a big eater of it, but I like it to grab onto.
That's a handle.
Yeah. And the ones in the
Okay.
middle, then, on a rectangle pizza, there's no crust to hang on to.
Well, you
Gotta
can
eat
use
it-
a fork.
I have to eat it with a fork.
You know, I like those big round pizzas that are cut in little squares. You know, they make a checkerboard out of it.
Oh.
Now, see, it's exactly opposite of what you just said.
Well, then you end
But-
up with like 4 pieces that are absolutely nothing but crust. Those
around
little,
the edge. And
yeah,
see,
those
those
little
will have
points.
yours because those are yours.
There's nothing to eat.
Because they have a good handle.
They got
They have a
nothing-
good handle.
they got nothing to eat. Good handle. One bite.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
over.
I like to try different pizzas.
Yeah.
And so when there's those little pieces, I can have
Then you
more
can
pieces.
have more kinds.
More kinds.
Speaking of food,
Uh-huh.
your fact or fiction question of the day, Kyle Bauer. The Japanese prefer to eat chicken and shortcake on Christmas. Fact or fiction?
Well, I didn't know there was very many Christians in Japan, which therefore you wouldn't have Christmas. I'm going to go with fiction.
It says it's true.
Okay, well, there's some Christians there, so. But
yeah,
they're
traditionally eat chicken and strawberry shortcake.
You know, we were at a meeting sometime in the more recent past that talked about the cow tongues going to Japan.
Right.
And they have a appetizer before the meal that is pretty standard in their
culture.
In their culture.
Okay.
And that tongue is served regularly in that.
Suppose is it like cubed and you use toothpicks or?
I don't know that, but they pay a good fee for tongues. And at that meeting, we were quoted $5 a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so then I looked over at you and I said, so Duane, if the Japanese weren't buying those cow tongues, how much would you pay for a cow tongue?
I said about 80 cents.
And I think that was pretty much, and that's just to take it home for cat food.
Right.
And that is tough cat food. I mean, if you threw a tongue out
I
to a
wonder
cat,
about
they'd eat
the
for a
latest craze, the pressure cookers,
Mhm.
the electronic pressure cookers
Mhm.
that a lot of people are getting into. I wonder if tongue would be something that would benefit from cooking in that manner.
You've had tongue.
I have.
Yeah, when I was
Yes.
a kid, we had it regularly. I mean, let's face it, when we butchered an animal, we pretty much ate it all.
Right.
Hearts and liver and everything to it, and we ate the tongue, but we always had it pickled.
Oh, no.
When-
Ours was when we butchered hogs at home. The tongue and most of the organ meats were put in a flour sack along with a package of spices, seasoning of sorts that was thrown in there as well. Then it was put in the rendering kettle where we were rendering lard from, and which you bring up to a very high temperature.
Well, just boiling, basically.
Yeah, boiling.
Right?
That's hot enough if you stick your hand in.
All right.
And then, yeah, that's what we had for lunch the day that we were processing then. The hogs was those things. You brought them out and diced them up and threw a little salt on them, and that was lunch.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.